Dvamalchus of the Rebbe from Parshas Tazria Matzeiro Tovshin Nun Aleph. And the learning is taking place in the Beis Knesset Satzam Tzedek, Hachodesh, Chabad Tsfat, and this evening is Oil Koftes Oder Beis Tovshin Ayin Teh. And so we welcome Bevrocha, all of those taking part in the class. Because I had a surprise the other day. Somebody said to me, "Oh, that was a very interesting story you told the other night on the..." And I said, "What are you referring to?" He said, "Oh, on this and this class, I saw you and I heard the story." So, it's just amazing who you reach. So I just want to make a brief introductory remark before we begin learning the Teichan HaSicha. There's an old saying in English, this class is in the English language, that things are not as they always appear. You can't always judge by the way things appear, even according to correct information, what is the real, what you might call mashmoyas, the real significance and the real pnimius of that inyan is not necessarily what it appears per klal. And we're going to see a classical example of that principle and how it affects a whole amazing look at the message of the Torah and the message of the Geula Shlema Tehum Yadmam. The Rebbe begins with telling us that Kwan is boya besicha is koid mais. We've already been explained in previous sichos ala tzorech, on the great necessity shekol echod ve'echod yaseh hakel kedei lahovi es geula b'poyo. The Rebbe has spoken on numerous occasions how each and every individual has to take it and see it as his personal responsibility to bring the geula b'poyo. And we have to bear in mind that this sikha was actually said a couple of weeks already after Pesach, and it was already after Rosh Chodesh, as it comes out of his that it's already been Kovches Nisan of that year, or the year before that. The Rebbe spoke at great length about how each individual should see it as his personal achrayus to bring the Geula Shlema b'poyo. And the Rebbe, as it were, took it away from a individual, as it were, tremendous mitzvah, where the Rebbe got the Chassidim involved. But he said that Ad Kan, he's been like the main, what you might call, leader of the campaign. And now he wants, from then on, from Kovches Nisan and further, he wants that each individual should see it as his personal responsibility and achrayus to bring the Geula b'poyo man. That's what the Rebbe is referring to. In general, all over this whole period, the Rebbe spoke about it, but in particular, there's an emphasis that every individual should do everything that he can to bring the Geula b'poyo. Take of miyad mamish, immediately right now. Yeah, Mekivan Shekais, since at this present moment, Achrei Chodesh Nisan Shel Shana Zu, well, we're already after the completion of Chodesh, like I said, that's when the Sikha was actually delivered by the Rebbe. It was already after Chodesh Nisan. Achrei chodesh shel shana zu, borur l'kol hadayas, it would appear accepted by all the opinions. Shemoshiach tzorik lovei takeof miyad mamish. If it's after all these siras and all the awakening and the service to the Gula which the Rebbe gave in those siras, then everybody will agree that if so, Moshiach must be coming immediately. The take of Nuchal Lamasha Moshiach Faba. Instead of talking in the future, the Moshiach should come, we'll be able to talk after one moment. Yeah, but that's the actual Izgala, the hair of iron of the Geula. We'll be able to talk already in the past, and we're able to say, Moshiach is already with us. Ka'ish Nera, at this particular moment, it would appear, Ka'ish Nera means for the moment, we will see. Let us examine and let us see. Shalom. Shalom Tov. And let us see. Eik b'diuk oisim zois. It's true that there's been a very emphatic Isoirus that everybody should accept it as a personal matter to bring Moshiach. But we have to examine, we have to see how is that Shayat to Maisa. What does that mean? Papoyo. Eik b'diuk oisim zois. Ve'eik kol zeh mudgas b'Shabbat kodesh zeh. And how all of this tremendous awakening to the Geula and the necessity that each individual see himself as personally involved in that, that is marumas in this week's Parsha. That's to say, as it was then, both Tazria and Matzera together. But Parshas Shavua, shekorim Shabbos b'boika, gam b'Parsha shekorim b'mincha. Shabbos b'boika, v'gam b'Parsha shekorim b'mincha. And in the Pirkei Avos, Nikoim b'Shabbat, they were already saying Perik Beis of Pirkei Avos on that Shabbos. But Tarikh Chodesh Iyar, or Sfiras or Imas, Seferim b'Shabbat. So the Rebbe said all these factors which come together on that Shabbos all add and bring and balance further information into our knowledge. What should we be doing to bring the Gula Shlema? All these different interbinding factors in the one Shabbos. So the Rebbe said, Parshas Tazria Mitzayra, Roim Babiru es Agiola. The Rebbe said that in these parshas, and as we'll see as we go along, in the connection between them, because since they're read together on the same Shabbat, well, that indicates a very functioning connection between them, then we're going to see clearly in Yoneh HaGula, we're going to see the Gula openly presented to us. Parshat Tazria, Maschila Bamilim, Isho Ki Tazria, V'yoldo Zocho. So the Rebbe said the Parsha begins with a woman, if she will be fruitful in seed, and she will give birth to a male child. That's the way the whole Parsha begins. So the Rebbe said, Laido, the very fact that we say, V'yoldo Zocha, she's going to give birth to a male child. The etzem meaning of giving birth on its own, Leida Moira ala Geula. It's well known that in the great Nevi'im, like Yeshaya and Yirmiyahu and other of the great Nevi'im, the whole idea of giving birth is like a muscle for the Gula Shlema. And as we mentioned in the Hachodesh Pesach also, so therefore the Rebbe says, Leida Moira ala Geula, Kenema biyudei haGeula. As I said, particularly in Yeshaya Hanovi, Tzion, Yoldo Tzion es boneho. that Zion will give birth to her sons. The later Zohar, and the whole idea of giving birth to a male child, Moira ala Geula Chazoka, what that would indicate now, and why Chazoka? Because the Chassidus explains to us that there's a Mila in a Zohar compared to in a Keva, that the Zohar is, he's a stronger opinion. He has a strong das, and he's also bigger and stronger, usually physically. And the Rebbe said that that strong das, well, that indicates the fact that he comes from a higher madriga in Elikut. So therefore, that's the whole idea of later is itself a marshal for the Geula. Giving birth to a male child is even greater. He said that that's a symbol of Geula Chazocha, not just Tama Geula, but a very strong and powerful in a Geula. And what would that be? A Geula She'ein Achrei HaGolas. Because we see there can be such a concept as a Geula, but it can be followed still by a Golas, like we see over the years, and we not all that long ago we're coming from Purim, and by Purim the Gemara says Mufurish that despite the big Geula, nonetheless we're still servants of Achashverosh, so well known that he didn't permit the building of the Beis Hamikdash even after the Geula, etc., etc. So there can be a Geula, which is, but if we say it's a Geula Chazoka, how do you say, a Zohar, a strong Geula, then that indicates that it won't be followed by any goddess. The Albias HaMashiach Shemagia Medaga Naidlis Meid, a further indication that the whole concept of a birth of a Zohar is connected with the idea of Moshiach, because Moshiach comes from a very high level. He is described as a Neshama Claudius from a very high level as Mavur. Becoming Mekamis from the Rebbe, the Inif and Yechida shall call Claudius, even Lamaila Mizeh. So he comes from a very high level, and that's called Alma Did Chiro in the Lashon of the Zoya, the world of maleness, male, M-A-L-E. Yeah? The Chiro means a Zohar. So he comes, the Neshama of Moshiach is from Pnimisati. That's called in the Lashon of the Zoya, Alma Did Chiro, the world of male power. Yeah, B'Lashon HaKabbalah. So that means that the word giving birth to a Zohar has several implications. On the one hand, a Geula B'Klal that won't be after any Golas, and that means a very powerful Inyan of Gilei Elokus in the world, and then the Inyan of Mashiach himself, that he's going to be from the level of Alma the Chayra, the infant Zohar. So it comes out that the first posik in the whole two Parshas is a very strong indicatory of the coming of Mashiach. Be'etzem, kol posik medaber ala geula, says the Rebbe. If you look at it carefully, even though that's only one posik, the whole posik is referring to the geula. Ki isho, ki Tazria, the whole idea of a isho, the Tazria, mesamol es b'nei Yisrael. And why? Because the word isha implies a wife of somebody, because she's had a child, or she's giving birth to a child. So in the mashal, that means that she is married to somebody. So who is her husband? If we take it in the drush and the remez of the pasuk, then the Bnei Yisrael are the ishtoi shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. They are literally the zivug of Hashem. They are bisman hagolas, and yet nonetheless this is occurring in the zman hagolas. Why? Because he said, "Az heim zoirim," the lashon ki tazria. Yes, she will sow, or be had to call it fruitful. Well, that's referring for the moment the goddess, the last, as it were, trace of the goddess. Why? Because Chassidus points out to us at length that the mitzvahs and the Torah and all the good things we do in the Golas are like sowing into the ground that later will grow and produce a tremendous produce. But for the moment, it's like sowing it in the ground on its own, bilvat. So therefore, he says, in the time of the Golas, the Yidden are sowing, but they haven't reaped yet. The Golas will be the reaping. Oz heim zoyrim es ha-Torah ha-mitzvahs, or mekayim ma'asom, and they're keeping all the mitzvahs, avol lo ro'im es ha-tzmicho, but we don't see the growing yet. Ves ha-mishracha ish ketoytoa mizeh, and so we don't see what happens from after the seeds have already given rise to a growing plant. Yeah, ezeh nira rak b'zman ha-geula. He said that we're going to see only at the moment of the geula. Yolda zocho. Everything is being covered. First of all, Isha ki Tazria is referring to Knesset Yisrael, how they're working hard in the Golas, but it's only called Zria. They're planting, but they don't see all the wondrous products of the actual growth. That will be seen when the Geula actually occurs, and that's hindered by the words Yolda Zocho. Parshas Matzoira, however, we take the next parsha, the whole word Matzoira, Kashura, Yeshirois, La Geula. The whole in of the Matzoira is built up directly with the whole concept of the Geula. Where do we see that? The word Matzoira is not a pleasant word. Yeah, the word Matzoira means somebody that he's suffering from a visitation on his gulf, which is not positive, it would seem. So how does that work? So the Rebbe said, but Gemara, the Gemara brings down in the Sanhedrin, Kosuv sheshmoi shal Mashiach hu Matzoira. It's written in the Gemara that somebody asked, who was it? Anyway, it was written that one of the Amoraim asked the other one, and he said, Heichon Mashiach nimta. He said, where is Mashiach to be found? And he said, he's a Matzoira, and he's sitting amongst all the poor people and the Matzoiroim. Here, the people who are suffering, sort of, outside the camp and in a slightly isolated situation. He said, that's where Moshiach is, and he's one of them. So this guy's eyes, put down, and he said, are you serious? That's actually where Moshiach is. Oh, but that's the implication. And why is that? Because he's trying to keep, not trying, but he's actually keeping the posse, which says in Yeshaya Hanovi that Moshiach literally is taking on himself all the suffering of the Jewish people throughout the Golas. And he's being soivel all the terrible things that should really be visited on the whole Klal Yisrael, and he's we're taking it on himself. So therefore he's a Matzoira, he's Matzoira, and he's suffering the Moshiach. And that's why it's called a Matzoira Shal Beis Rebbe. That doesn't necessarily mean Rabbeinu Hachodesh. It means like a place of the study house of Yidden. Parshas Matzoira Kishuri B'Gemara Shmei Shal Matzoira Shal Beis Rebbe. Gam Kasher Shal Rebbe Yeshua. Oh, here it is. Shal Rebbe Yeshua ben Levi Es Eliyahu Novi. Oh, that's right. I forgot that part. Wasn't another Amira. It's written that Rebbe Yeshua ben Levi, he's like the line between the Tanoim and the Amoraim. There's different opinion about him. Is he actually one of the Amoraim, or does he still belong to the Tanoim? But the Gemara says that he was so great that Eliyahu Hanovi was a usual guy by him, Eliyahu Hanovi was a usual appearer in his daily inyonim. So when Eliyahu showed up for that particular day, he asked him, where is Moshiach? And so Eliyahu Hanovi said, So he asked them, he said, hey, can Mashiach? Where is Mashiach? Onaloi Eliyahu, Mashiach u'mitzoiro. He's suffering from tzoras. V'yosef ben ha'mitzoroim, soiv le'chaloim. And it's sitting amongst the suffering people that they're suffering from the effects of the Torah. Mashiach nikra mitzoiro, given shehu begolas. They said, why is the Mashiach? We just said Mashiach is the highest neshama. Yeah, he's from Amud to the Chur. What's he doing amongst the Mitzrayim? And he's putting up with all the tzar, v'akeiv shelagolas, because he took on himself to suffer for the sake of the Yidden, the whole tzar of the golas. Ulam, he said, Parsha Mitzayda, if you look carefully, not only do you see this image of Moshiach being a Mitzayda, but you see another thing, that immediately after that, the Pasuk says that this will be the Torah of the Mitzayda on the day that he's going to be purified. And that the Kohen will go out and meet up with him, and the Kohen will see that he's already been healed, and he will, be metaheroto from the Torah. It says the Rebbe Kumtais that the Pasuk first of all tells us he's a Mitzayda, and then it tells me immediately how he's going to become Tahor. So that's like two, contrasting themes. So that's what he says now, the Rebbe. Ulam Parshas Mitzayda miteres Yom Taharoisai Shala Mitzayda. Yeah, Hamashiach, it tells us the day of the purification of the Mitzayda, and that's Moshiach. Yeah, so the Rebbe said, Ashlav, boy, who mitgaleh. The inyan of his Tahara means that he goes out of being a Mitzayda, Golus, and he goes into being pure, which is the inyan of the Geula. He's now able to come and carry out his task as Mashiach. Yeah, who mitgaleh v'goyel es b'nei Yisrael b'geula amidas v'ha ashleimo. And the Rebbe says over there, I think he will mention it a bit further on as well, that the word Yom is also interesting. B'yom taharosai. It could have been written, this is the Torah of the Mitzvah, but taharosai, when it was a b'yom taharosai. So the Rebbe said the union of Yom indicates revelation and oyer. Vayikro Elokim lo oyer Yom. The word Yom is indicative of light. So that's the light of the Geula, beyond Taharosai. And just a second before you said he's a Mitzvah. So here you're moving into these sort of very fascinating, obviously interconnected opposite states. So the Rebbe said, we have to understand that to say the least of it, this is not quite clear yet. He said, Aleph, the word Tazria, Mesamar es Tazria, Vihaleida Shalagiula. It indicates the work of the Golas, but also the birth, which indicates Geula. Ve'ilu Matzoira, Mora Davke al Gola. The word Matzoira indicates the sable of Mashiach in the Zman of the Golas. Lifnei Tahara Begula. Ve'eik Nitan Lechabram Yachid Tazria Matzoira. How do you put them together and they become one parsha? Well, that's the Chur of the Geula. Tazria is called, that's the name of the whole parsha. Well, that means the whole parsha. The whole parsha is Geula, and Matzoira, that's its name. That indicates the Golas and the state of Mashiach, how he's a Matzoira in the Golas. So the Rebbe said out of those two things come together, and therefore the question is, how can you link the two of them together? Ika HaShaila, he said, the Rebbe, that's only part of the Shaila. The principal aspect of the Shaila, Shachrei Sheyesh Kwa Tazria, there's already been the inyan of Tazria, later Sagiula Hanitzchias, Shein Achrei Golas, and we said that's later Zochor, Yod Zochor, or that's the power of the Emes Hagiula. Lo Yishayach Sheyagiach HaMatzoira HaGolas. Once you've already had the later, that's the Emes Hagolas, and it's a Golas Media. So, oh yeah, crazy, Golas. How can we go back to the Golas? And you say Matzorah. Well, Matzorah indicates the whole inyan of being in the Golas. So I said, how do the two get together? And he said, the third question is, there's another two questions. Davke Parshas Tazria hamoire ala gula masupa achacha al dinin agoyim tzoras. We should have come up with the obvious kasha that this parsha, Einochanami talks about the gula, but it's only the first 5 or 6 psukim at the beginning of the parsha, and then after that we deal with all the dinim of the nagoyim, with these Torahs. And we just said that indicates Golas. So how is it that the whole Parsha is Geula when it seems to be dealing most of it with Simone HaGolas? So he says, Mesupa Achachal Dinin Egoyim, Tzoraz. Over Parshas Matzoida, Hamoira ala Golas, Tzoraz, Mesupa Davkel Taras HaMatzoida. So it's all sort of like back to front. HaGeula Me'agolas. או ימתי מייסר של הפרשה, שמספר זה על נגויים, יקוראים מצוירה. We should really call Tazria Matzoida. Yeah? It tells all about the Torah. Or the Parshas שמספר על Taras HaMatzoida, HaGeula. Yeah, that should be called Tazria. In other words, we should switch the names. The first one should be Matzoida, because it talks mostly about the dinim of the Negoim, and Taras, that should be called Tazria. Yeah. And then another question, Lama Davke Mashiach Shehu Goyeles B'nai Yisrael Nikra Matzoida. Why on earth should we call Mashiach that he's going to be the great redeemer of the whole Jewish people? Why should he be called a Matzoida? Yeah. And we see that Rabbi Shua ben Levi heard it from Eliyahu Novi. So he couldn't get a better, more authoritative source than that. That's a sign that Mashiach is in effect a Matzoida. So I asked the question, what is that? So he says, Nikra Matzoida, Sheshem Zeh Moira, Davka Lagolas V'Achoili. Like we said, so it's all sort of hinting at the fact that there must be some secret which links these things together, exactly in the way we described it. Really, Tazria is really Geula. And Matzoida is indicative of the Golas right at the beginning, but immediately the going out of the Golas. So let's see how that all fits in. Let's see how that works, particularly with our present Parsha that talks the whole time about all the Negoim, all the dinim of the Negoim. And the Negoim are not a pleasant thing. Torah. So therefore, says the Rebbe, we have to understand what is the whole meaning of Torah. And that's what I mentioned at the beginning of this learning, that as the old saying in English, that not everything that appears is in effect what is. That not everything that you can see it, the way you see it, Lav Davki, that's really the pneumonia, isn't it? You're looking very serious this evening. Yeah. I suppose you're concerned with the kasha, about Matzoida. So therefore he says the Rebbe, K'dei lahovin zois, tzorich lahovin koidem, mahem ba'etzem hanegoyim, haTorahs. Is that bothering people? Yeah. He said, what is in effect the whole inyan of Negoim? Now here we're going to meet up with a mimer of the Alter Rebbe in this week's Parsha in Likutei Torah, and it's actually quite a short mimer. And there are other mimarim that are more at length. They also talk about the Torah. Well, we didn't get that far yet, but we're going to come pretty close to that. Yeah, we're on the way. So, there's a lot of other Maimorim in Parshas Tazria, but the Rebbe's focus is on this amazing, it's like a sort of a policy statement on the part of the Alter Rebbe. So what is the main deal for the Alter Rebbe? The Alter Rebbe has another deal. It's well known that the word Odom is the highest name for a man. If you want to refer to a man with the highest praiseworthy expression, you call him Adam. And Adam is indicative of shleimus, perfection, in all the madrigas. And yet the whole parsha of Negoim begins with the word Adam. That's how it begins. Adam ki yeh ba'ir v'sorei. If there will be in the skin of his face this and this, then he's chas v'sholem a matzorah. So how come it begins with the word Adam? Adam indicates a great miler. So how can somebody who's a great Baal miler, how can he turn into a matzorah? So the Alter Rebbe says, no, you got it wrong. In Emerson, somebody who sees the Simone HaTorah and he gets paskin that he's a matzorah is really a very, very high person. He is a man of great perfection. How does this fit in? That's an amazing statement. Oh, but that's what we're going to learn right now. But Chassidus Mavoyer, Chassidus made the Alter Rebbe in the Kutter. Mavoyer she'odom she'esh lo yitzoras siman hu she'kol ma'asov matukonim. He's a very, very corrected person. And the Alter Rebbe writes over there in the Kutter, how come he's corrected? He's done it. In other words, he's worked on himself and he's reached the perfection that man can reach. V'kol koyachos nafshoi mushlomim, and they're all perfect. They call it koyachos hanefesh are all perfected and brought to their full realization. V'afu b'kein nishar etzloi yechiton. Seid Michael, das selbst ist nicht bequem. Erst kann man das so machen. Wo ist Yeshua? Das ist mir wahr, wohl ein bisschen. Ob wir kennen es. Aber Mela, says the Rebbe, nonetheless, nishar atzloi chisoron koton she'oisoi hulo tikan adayin. Says the Rebbe, there's left over by this Odom, who has perfected everything. He's perfected everything. He's got left over a little something that he hasn't fixed. Told I see I said the wrong thing, and now everybody's paying attention to him. Yeah. I say it doesn't develop.
You open the door.
Ja, sicher gewesen, die ganze Klasse guckt auf euch jetzt. So the Rebbe said, Im Kain, if he's so perfect, what's he doing with the Torah? What happened to the Torah? So he said, and I beg everybody not to watch him, otherwise we'll just have to stop this year. Can't teach like that. We're grown-up human beings. We've all seen Rabbi Mazel many times. We don't have to study him carefully. Whatever he's doing, he's doing. We have to study the Rebbe's seat. So he says, Eitzel chisoron koton shoisoi lo tiken adayin. He's got a very small little chisoron that he didn't fix up yet. And evelochein noitzeru bo'ir besoroi, they come created in the skin of his flesh. Simonit Tzoraz, Mashamoira Shebekol Choiches Nafshe Ein Ra. There's no evil. Barak Bechitzoinias Nishak Tas Peselis. A little weeny bit of something is left over that he hasn't fixed it. But since he's such an elevated individual, well, that little bit is very noticeable. It's like the old saying in English, you know, that where you've got a very, very white tablecloth, then the smallest little stain shows up very badly. Yeah? If I remember the same thing with this person, he's perfect, he's fixed everything up, but he's got a little bit of something that still remains unfixed. That comes out on him, and that's noticeable. So this is already quite a remarkable idea of what it's about. So the Rebbe says, Yezemekach, even more than that, Al-Posik Oime Bekeshel Torahs, in reference to the whole inner Torahs, Odom ki yeh ba'oyer b'sarai. Now, both of your flesh, a very thin layer at the top of what is the outside of you. So that means it's chitonias, sheba chitonias. And therefore the Rebbe said the whole Torah only occurs in chitonias, sheba chitonias. Kalema, shanega lo yikoshur afilu lebasor shela odom, ela rak le'oyer, only to his skin, shesovi lebasori, and that goes around on the outside of his skin. V'gam zeh lo yirogil ela bo b'mikra. It doesn't come in a usual way, but only in a special happening. Ki, if it will be. Not that there is always a mice like this, but the Pasuk says, Odom, ki, if it should happen, such a thing. V'gam k'shazeh magia, zerak nega tzoraz. And he said the word for tzoraz is nega. And the word nega is from the word nogeya, it's from the word to touch, which means that a tzoraz only touches the man that suffers from. But when I touch you, I don't necessarily become involved in you. I just touch you from the outside. So he says, Magia zerak nega tzoraz, zerak nogeya boy. Avalu shayach afilu l'chitonias. Got nothing to do with these panemias at all. Only to do with Tazria. Of Amela, all intelligent readers should have their eyes jolting out when they see this. This is a very revolutionary way of looking at it, yeah? Because there are many Maimar Chazal which indicate that the nega, tzoras, comes from not necessarily a good thing, yeah? So the Alter Rebbe says, Ein Hanami. But it comes in a man that he is a perfect, it's just that in certain very, very, minor chitonius things, he hasn't fixed them. And Davki, because of his great milah, like we used the mashal of the white tablecloth, then you can see the spot in a very much more noticeable way. That's a very revolutionary idea. And the truth of the matter is, the Alter Rebbe brings over there in Likkutei Torah a Rambam. There's a Rambam in the Meir Nevuchim, where the Rambam also says a very similar idea, that Odom is referring to Odom B'Maila Gedela, and Beklal, the Rambam writes in Halachas, in the Yad HaChazocha, the Rambam writes of in the Hilchas, I think it's Surah Bia, or in one of the chapters where he talks about the Neged Torah, and not I've forgotten the name of the sefer. The Rambam writes over there that nowadays we don't have Neged Torahs, because the whole inner of Neged Torahs is a very miraculous, and it's a very high level where things could occur to a man and affect him spiritually, indicating how he is really spiritually. Normally, you don't see that on a person. And Bamela, since we're not holding with such madrigas nowadays, we don't have it. And that's just, by the way, that's a very interesting point that comes up from all that. And that is that both the Rambam and the Sefer Chinuch, or the great Moinei mitzvahs, they say that these mitzvahs are l'kol haderes. L'chora, you could say, well, maybe these mitzvahs were only nogeh when they were in the desert, or after they went into Eretz Yisrael. We find that in the time of Chizkiyahu, there were 4 mitzvah. If maybe for part of the time when they were in Eretz Yisrael, or after that it stopped. So maybe it's not a mitzvah. So all the great counters of the mitzvahs, they say that this is a mitzvah hanoeg l'kol haderes. In other words, that it could be, it's just because the world is so magushim nowadays, and we amongst it, we're not, as it were, fitting, in inverted commas, that this sort of thing should occur by us, you follow? Which is an amazing concept. But the Rambam himself hints at that, both in the Moreh Nevuchim, he says Begoli over there, and even in the halachas. And that's what the Alter Rebbe builds on, that this is a very elevated gentleman, and it's just like a chitzenia sheba, a chitzenia. So that's talking about what we call in the learning the gavra, how they call it, the person that it's occurring to. The Rebbe said, what about the etem nega itself? So this is what we call the hefta. What is the hefta? So he says that the Alter Rebbe explains over there that the nega itself is really a very, very high madrega. Not only it occurs by bali madrega gavoyim, the nega atzmai is a level of a madrega gavoya ma'id. And so how does he point that out, the Alter Rebbe? He said that really the nega is oiros elyonim ma'id. It's very, very high level of divine oiros. What they are like oiros tatoihu, they're tremendously high, but they've had a sort of a fall and a collapse. Come in, Yaakov, sit down. They've had a very high shoyros in their madrega, and they've, as it were, had a ureta down of a really, they're a very high level. And that very high level causes in the mensch, unless he's not tremendously careful, a certain avodah, which is a holy avodah, but it's not really what Hashem wants. It's something like the Bnei Aaron, you know. They were tremendously elevated, and what they did was a tremendously high thing. But Hashem doesn't want it that way. That's not the way Hashem wants. You remember, that's what happens with the Matzorah. He's really on such a level that it comes out in his bossa that he's not really doing the right avodah. He's doing a tremendous avodah, but it's not really the right one. And therefore it comes out in a sort of a psalus at the bottom of his lavushim. Yeah. That's what the Alter Rebbe brings over there in Likud Torah. Mela says the Rebbe, that on two levels. First of all, by the actual Matzorah himself, and the second thing is that the shoyrosh in Elikus of the etem yeridas ha'oiras of the Nigoim is very high. It's on a very high level. Mela Chasidus Mavairim, Gam Shelifnei Shakoyen Koiveya Shanagoim Elu Hinam Shimon Tuma, and the goyim heim davke devorim gevoyim. If the kohen already paskins that they're tomei, then they can be dissolving of appearance of things which are not beseder. But he said before that, as long as the kohen hasn't actually paskin, and that's another great factor that we have here, that the Alter Rebbe talks about in Likud Torah, that you have to have a kohen here. You don't get to actual tumah unless the kohen paskin. But before the kohen paskin, it's oiros elyonim, very, very high divine lights. But in kohen beloshon HaKabbalah v'chassidus dina kashia de kedusha, a very, very hard aspect of kedusha, sharp, but kedusha, perfect kedusha. And a dogma of that is the Inyan Avela Matur, like I said. It's very high, but it's not, it doesn't have ultimately a full desired result. Sumo will mention that in more detail, page Hashem. So he said, Nitan Loima, says the Rebbe, we can maybe say about that, Sheshnei Biyurim Elo, Shotzarasu Pseilas Mu'etas, maybe we can suggest that they are tluim echad b'asheni, that they have to do one with the other, that because of the greatness of these divine lights, how they express themselves in the avodah of the mensch who is involved with them, that's a very high level in its own, and that gives rise, if the kohen paskins that it's not good, that gives rise to the simonim begufayim. Tafki, because it's a very high inyan, but it's not according to the kabbana. Nitan loy. So he said, mekivan shanagoyim hey meiras al yenim be'etzem. They are very, very high divine lights. Lochin Gamkisha Misiba Kolshehi, for whatever reason it might be, Heim Yodu me Madrigosom, Venitno Koiches Lechitonium, and they cause what we call Yanika Lechitonium, which means Koiches Shlilium. That's not a good thing, that the Chitonium should have a Yanika, albeit on a very low level, but it's like a Yanika to the clippers. He said, Gam Oz, Ha-Ro Shanoitimahem, Hu Chitoni Bilbahad. Even then, even when that happens, it's no longer Beseda. And the Kohen has already said it's not Beseda. Nonetheless, the whole Yanika is only a Chitonius one. So he said, Lochen, Kedei Latakin Zois, Leit Zorik Shum Dova Noisa. Therefore, in order to be matakin the whole thing, you don't have to go over to another type of avoider. Rak legala is a inan amida. All you need to do is be megalin the whole inan amidi shalan negoim. Sheim be'etem oiras el yohinim. If you will be megala, what is the real shoyras of the negoim? Then the derek to the tikkun will be, as it were, obvious and follow. You don't have to become involved in a whole series of other inyanim. So he says, Lo, hein kosu benegel atar samatzoiro, that the Rebbe says, Zois toiras, or Zois tia, toiras samatzoiro, b'yoyim tohorosei, ki kedei latayar samatzoiro, tarik rak lahaiya ulagales yom, es inyonam shalanigoim. All they have to do is just show that really they're very, very high level. It's an amazing idea. He said, if you get back to the real shoulders of the Negoim, and that becomes revealed, that it so fixes up the little unpleasant result that was anyway. If you reveal the emes shoulders and the emes kavana in that shoulders, then you automatically fix up, and that's the whole in of Yom. And then the Rebbe is going to get on to another point. It could have just said that Zois Taras Matzora. Why does it have to say Zois Tia Toiras Matzora Beyond Taras? So the Rebbe says similar that the word Torah has got something to do here. And we're going to see that the way to get out of it all is to learn Torah. If you're really devoted to Torah. And since the whole thing is talking about how the Matzorah becomes purified for the sake of the Geula, the way to bring the Geula is to learn a lot of Torah. Shalom Aleichem, everybody. Yeah, the way to bring the Geula is to learn a lot of Torah. But what sort of Torah? Torah that will fix up the Negoim and bring the Geula Shlema B'Poil, to learn about Mashiach, learn about good things and positive things. And the Rebbe says, ladies should make it kriyatan to learn in Yonim Mashiach HaGeula, and to learn them afilu barabim, not just hidden away somewhere, a nice quiet couple of chassidim hammering away, but, to make a big pirusom about the whole thing. Yeah. That's what the Rebbe said. Avamela, we're gradually getting there, that if we're going to be a Megala, the emissary shoulders of everything, and we're going to bring down the emissary purpose of those high oiras, elyonim, then we're just going to fix up the whole in it. But how are we going to do that? Through Torah. The very fact that there can be a little bit of yanika to the chitzonim, but that's the negoim. Bo mi'a'uvda shemeroi ma'alosom sharoeres alyenim ein heim yechilim l'redas u'lishlabesh b'keilim ha'amurim lahakilatzam. Oh, now we're getting to the base of it. He said, why are they come out a little bit not desirable? He said, because they're very high, and they're so high that there's no kelim, maspikim. The kelim are not able to receive them. Yeah, therefore, they give rise to this slight confusion to the chitzonim, because the kelim are not really containing them properly. Yeah, so the Rebbe says, lahakil sa ha'ira so elenim shoivrim as a kelim. The others elenim are breaking the kelim. Okataito mikach nitnim koichas lechetainim. The boy can have a unique to the chetainim. He said, "Im der takim zeis le pasim maisim noimakach." If we will bring it over to in lines of doing things, the maisa, ha'ir salienim yetzim es rotzoi. How to call it? The desire to go upwards and leave the world. You know, such high life. Why should I have to do with this whole balagan down here? Oh, go up there. I'll be part of all the highlights. Estnuas anefes la'alois olahikol be'er Hashem. Rakli hisachid ima be'er yizbora. Only to be united with Hashem. He had to go up and be mesachid ima kosh baruch hu u'mitzhuka zu levad yocheli esh koiches v'yanikel chetay. He said, purely mitzadat, that can give rise to not desirable things. Kamoisharoyim shachreya slavas, but tefillah yocheli yesh achar hakav. Or kapeda, a person can, dafke use all these flowers that he got from a good Gafni to get angry with somebody or to, be not pleasant in his home or who knows what. He's taken the highlights and he's got his love, but his love has gone out on the wrong path. Sholem, v'chas v'sholem, al misha ina misnagi kedoros. That's not the way. You shouldn't get angry with him. You have to talk with him nicely, but not the cars of him. So he said, "Pison lezehu alidei tnuas hashoiv." You have to bring shoiv and not rotzai. Alidei abidl hamuchlat l'Hashem. Mamish k'moy eved sho'eim lifnei hamelech ke'evan doimem. That's the way to bring the tikkun. He said, "Validei zeh yovei odom lahoisim b'toiro mitzvah v'yolmala shluchoisim ba'olam kedor." He's a eved. He's not a big macher. He doesn't want to go out and join up to the Yerushalayim. He just wants to do what the Melech wants of him. And when he does that, then he brings down the highlights of what was his rotzoi. He brings it down in the shoyim. So he said, "Kadei lechabesh nei noidim elu."